9th century China. A small group of alchemists are working late into the night. They are not trying to build a weapon. They are trying to do something much bigger. They're trying to make a potion that stops death itself. Before I tell you what actually happened, guess which of these three ingredients was the dangerous one: saltpeter, sulfur, or charcoal? Drop your guess in the comments. This story actually starts even earlier than the 9th century. Nearly 700 years earlier, around the year 142, a Chinese alchemist named Wei Boyang wrote a text describing a strange mixture that could, in his own words, fly and dance violently when disturbed. Historians now believe he may have already stumbled onto an early, unstable version of the exact same chemistry, centuries before anyone understood what they were actually looking at. By the time we reached the Tang Dynasty, immortality had become something much bigger than one curious alchemist's notebook. The emperors took this search seriously. It wasn't a fairy tale to them. It was a research project, funded directly by the state. Entire teams of court alchemists were employed for one job: find the substance that stops aging. Find the substance that stops death. And here's a detail that makes this whole story darker before it even gets to gunpowder. Several actual Tang emperors are recorded to have died from elixirs their own alchemists prepared for them. Many of these potions contain mercury, believed at the time to hold the secret to eternal life. It did the opposite, slowly poisoning the very rulers who drank it in pursuit of forever. So when this same community of alchemists started testing a different mineral, a salty white crystal called saltpeter, nobody thought twice about the risk. Testing dangerous substances in search of life extension was simply what the job was. Thrown into a fire, saltpeter didn't just burn. It made the flames leap higher, brighter, more alive. To someone hunting for the secret of life itself, a flame reacting like that looked like exactly the kind of sign they were searching for. So they added more ingredients: sulfur, which burns easily on its own, and charcoal, made from slowly burned wood, ground down into the mix as well. 3 ordinary substances, combined for a purpose that had nothing to do with weapons at all. And then, someone brought it near fire. It didn't just burn, it erupted. Historical accounts describe burned hands, burned faces, in some cases the workshop itself catching fire and burning down around them. A 9th century text survives that warns other alchemists directly. Don't mix these ingredients together, it says. People who have done this have had their hands and faces burned. Some have even burned down the house they were in. They named it, almost poetically, fire medicine. Because in their minds, that's exactly what they thought they were making: medicine. It didn't cure anything. It didn't extend a single life. If anything, it did the opposite, immediately and violently. But before this discovery ever became a weapon, it had a much gentler life first. Long before fire medicine, people already threw bamboo stalks into New Year fires because the trapped air inside made them crack loudly as they burned. It was believed the noise scared away evil spirits. Once this new explosive mixture existed, someone had an obvious idea: pack it directly into those same bamboo tubes. The bang got louder, much louder. This is really the birth of the firecracker, born out of a religious ritual, generations before anyone thought to point this technology at another human being. But word of what this fire medicine could actually do kept spreading, and eventually, the people who took the most interest weren't monks or festival goers. They were soldiers. The first weaponized version was simple: fire arrows, tipped with the mixture, launched to set enemy camps and structures alight from a distance. Within a couple of centuries, the mixture had been packed into hollow bamboo tubes and attached directly to the end of spears. When lit, these early weapons, called fire lances, shot flame and small projectiles directly at whatever was standing in front of them. Chinese military texts from this period also describe other devices built on the same core mixture: incendiary bombs, smoke devices, even early rocket-propelled arrows streaking through the air on their own trapped burning gas. It's not a gun yet. Not quite. But it's the first time this substance was pointed at another human being on purpose. By the year 1044, the formula for this mixture was written down formally in a Chinese military text called the Wujing Zongyao, not medicine anymore. A weapon, on paper, with instructions for soldiers. Over the next 2 centuries, that bamboo tube slowly became something sturdier. Metal, reinforced, shaped specifically to survive the force of what was happening inside it. Historians consider this the direct ancestor of the handheld gun. A tube, a charge, a projectile, and someone choosing exactly where to point it. So, if you guessed saltpeter as the dangerous ingredient earlier, you were onto something real. It's the one that made ordinary fire behave like it never should have. Comment if you got it right. And this technology did not stay in one place. In the 13th century, Mongol armies swept across Asia, connecting territory from China all the way to the edges of Europe. Along the way, this weapon traveled with them. By the time Mongol forces reached the Middle East, local powers had already begun adapting the same core technology into their own hand cannons and defenses. Every region that received it adapted it. Different metals, different shapes, different tactics, but the core idea traced back to the exact same accident in the exact same workshop centuries earlier. Europe's first clear written reference comes from an English scholar named Roger Bacon, writing around the year 1267. He described a powder that could produce a blinding flash and a deafening noise, cautiously, almost as if he wasn't entirely sure how much detail was safe to put on paper. Within a few generations, European workshops were producing and refining their own versions, eventually leading toward the long-barreled muskets that would come to define warfare for centuries afterward. What started as a search for eternal life eventually became one of the most consequential and destructive technologies in human history. But the same basic mixture also went somewhere else entirely: colorful, loud, and completely harmless. Fireworks come from precisely the same discovery. The same three ordinary ingredients, in the hands of people who just wanted to make something beautiful or ward off evil spirits instead of ending a life. And this pattern, a huge discovery arriving sideways while someone was trying to do something completely different, is not unique to gunpowder. Penicillin was noticed almost by accident when a scientist saw a stray mold killing bacteria in a dish he'd forgotten to clean. The microwave oven came from an engineer noticing a chocolate bar melting strangely near a piece of radar equipment he was actually testing for something else entirely. Humans are remarkably good at looking for one thing and finding something else, something bigger, standing right next to it. One accident, one search for something that would let people live forever. And it produced two completely opposite legacies that still exist side by side today, every single time a firework lights up a night sky somewhere in the world. Tell me in the comments. Does knowing the real origin story change how you think about something as ordinary as a